3 days a week here at the Coté's Cotec household. Last week of school. It's also we're moving this month, so we've got a lot of stuff around the house to pack, do as well. And thankfully, my mother is coming on Saturday, so she'll finally get to see the new granddaughter and the kids after all of this. So that'll be nice. And then, there's also work stuff to do. So some fun stuff going on. Well, so I thought I would, do a little Coté show, ambient stuff here. Got some nice music going there, I think. I just read a nice article from the Restream people. Excellent example of, I guess you would call it thought leader content marketing, right? Kind of top of the funnel stuff. They had a good post on their blog about how to have music in your stream, right? So you want to establish content with your potential customer base to basically just have them look at you as an authoritative person and just kind of keep them around. Eventually you're going to, with the SaaS thing, you're always working to convert people. 1, to paying customers, and then 2, to upgrade them, and then 3, to retain them. Because once you establish a subscription, you want to retain it. Otherwise your financials get all, to use a technical term, fucked, right? Like it's not a good state to be in. Since this is not the Tanzu Talk thing, I'll allow myself some liberty for the old cursing. But it is good. I guess I should put a link in here. Let's do that. But it's actually quite a good piece on where to get music for streaming stuff. So let me open this up here. I'll switch over to showing you the old screen that we have. Oh, what? Come on. Did it not actually save? Yeah, Pinboard has been... Not Pinboard, I shouldn't blame Pinboard, but something has been going weird with it. Let's see where... That's not what you want to see. Restream blog. There we go. Where is it? How to make a podcast. How to get started. This isn't really... That's weird. I don't like this kind of display, but hopefully they're doing some testing and they know what they're doing here. Maybe it's an old post that they just put in their newsletter. There we go. Add copyright. Yep. How to stream music. Full guide. No. Well, that's unfortunate. Let me look on my phone. Speaking of, let's go back here. I finally hooked up a different phone. You can see that's part of what I wanted to do today was adjust the settings here. You can see I'm a little too saturated, but I finally converted my wife's old phone over to be the camera phone that I'm using because I see why that didn't work. Because I've been using my primary phone, which has a fantastic camera and I think is much better than this one, but then I just downgrade the stream to like 720 anyways. So how fantastic does it really need to be? However, I do need to go in and get the settings made properly. Okay, let's go see now. If I go look at my bookmarks, which, is a fine thing to do as well if you enjoy bookmarks. Here we go. So full guide to legally playing music on live streams. This is a good post. And, it goes over like some basics, but then the real good part is it actually lists places and ways to get free music. Not just, if you go look this up on Google, it'll just tell you people, this is something you learn in doing marketing, observing marketing, and working with other marketing people, is there's a trap that you can fall in when you're doing marketing or content. This kind of thing is you, the person writing it. I don't know anything about Alex. He's probably not like this, but you get assigned a task like, hey, we're working on our funnel management. We want to talk about we know what we're doing. So go write a piece on using music in your stream. And you'll be like, yes, but what should be in the piece? And they're like, no, that's your job. You figure out what's in the piece and you write about it. So if you don't know about the topic, oftentimes as a person writing this content, a marketer, you spend a lot of time learning what the hell the topic is in the first place. And if you're not careful, you get very excited when you create the content and all you do is you define it, right? So in the case of this, what you do is you do it the first half, which is totally fine. You go over why you need it and what you go over the I forget the term for this, the definitional stuff. And then you say like there's several types of copyright, and not copyright that you need to use. And then here's how you can do stuff. But what people like me actually know, because we've already Googled around and read this, so we got that, is we want to know like, yes, but I still need my problem solved. I now have a greater depth in understanding the problem, but the problem remains unsolved. So, which is what makes this post great, is then, oh, sorry, I'm scrolling through it. Let me share it with you. So then the blog post actually goes on to tell you exactly things to do. Right? Like, so, okay, there's even the second part, which is like, so when you're using each platform, like, what can you do? That part's great, whatever. It's kind of nice to know. But then, boom, I want to know how to actually solve the problem. And so this is, here's the commercial marketing is basically they say, you can just sign up and pay us, and then your problem is solved. The music you're listening to now, hopefully. But then it goes on to list all other sorts of sources. Like when I was researching this earlier, I didn't realize YouTube has an audio library. So that's fun. That's nice. And SoundCloud, you can go to and search for how to use their streaming music, and on and on and on. There's even other services you can sign up for, right? And that here, this is another good marketing thing. Where's the ones? Yeah, see, you can see ones that you pay. So this is another good point of this type of marketing, is in order to be a legitimate source for this kind of stuff, you have to recommend competitors, which can be hard to do, right? But so basically, in this post, our buddy Alex here and whoever else was involved in this chain, they're recommending people that compete with them. So their goal is to have Restream make more money from people, and yet they're allowing themselves to not make more money by recommending other things. But then that means that someone like me, I'm like, oh, I should pay attention to this more and actually use them, because that's some useful information. Something is up. See, with this camera, let's get to setting that up before I get to the Tanzu Talk part. But if you look down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that I'm fading in and out, like something is wrong. It's the green screen setup. So that's the first thing that I think is fun to look at there. But, think about from a stance of whatever you may be working on to market, how it's good to have that stream of content, and don't just be descriptive, right? Actually suggest ways to solve the problem. And I think that will achieve the goals that you have. So let's see. I think the issue that I might be having here. So now let's move on to the thrilling adjusting the camera. So let me open up OBS here. You can see kind of, there's two things that we need to adjust. First of all, I use this thing called Camo, which is, it's great. It's a way to essentially use your iPhone as a camera, which is super nice. Now you'll notice, if you're looking at me, which perhaps you are, in varying degrees, I look really red, okay? Which, maybe that's the actual color of my skin, or the way that I appear there. But, why put up with it? So let's switch over and we'll fix this kind of fading in and out, which I'm sort of fuzzy there. So here is the Camo interface. So the first layer that I want to work on is figuring out if I have these settings well. So normally you can see when my old camera, I had different settings, but this is a different camera with a different lens, all sorts of stuff. So first of all, let's take a look at saturation. I need a reference to look at, because see, look, I look not too shabby here, and you can see the actual green screen. So you know what I need to do? Let me bring up, that monitor is not going to work very well. Let's unsaturate me just a tad. I look paler there, but now let me switch over to my big head. See, I look a little better. Whereas, like, if you did too much saturation, I'd be like, I'm on fire. But, so this is like more or less the level we are at. And what I really want to monitor is whatever Restream thinks it's doing here in its monitor. So, see, but if you do that too much, then you're going to screw up the green screen behind you. So let me see what else we have here. If we make this a little brighter, I might just not use this phone, because it's kind of not working out, which is unfortunate. So see, that's the green screen setting. That's good. It eliminates all the green screen, but then I'm super red. Now the problem is, so this may not work because it's affecting the screen there. So let's just turn this off, and then instead, I'm gonna bug you out over here, and let me switch this so you'll see me in OBS, which will make the the cascade of craziness. So you won't be able to see me toying around with this. But what I'm going to do is open up the filters here. First of all, let's remove this second chroma key. I think that is making things bad. And then, so I'll just show this to you briefly. Let me, oh, I think this will be good. This will be good. So I'll share this, and this should not bug out too much. Okay. So you can see the big thing there in OBS. And so so I've got a chroma key, and I can't really make that work really very well. So I'm going to come in, and I think saturation is in color correction. Yeah, there we go. So it's basically taken out the green. You can see there's traces of green there, which drives me crazy. But then if I lower my own saturation, yeah, then I will basically be kind of pale. Is there a white balance in here? Now gamma's fun. That might actually be more of what I need. I like it pretty dark there, but I'm a little, I just don't like this camera. Let's see, I'll make myself green and blue. We'll leave that alone. Maybe it's the contrast. No, that doesn't do anything here. Let's go back to defaults. And then, so that's too red. Let's pale this up a little bit. And then also unsaturate myself some. I don't know. Is that better? Not really. This camera's just crap. Yeah, I still come through looking really red. So let's unred me. Oh wait, wrong way. See, oh, a little too pale. I think also this might help actually. See, balancing all this stuff, especially when you don't know what you're doing, big time hassle. So let's see if I turn my lights all the way up. That might actually help out a lot. No, does not help out a lot. Not good. Not good. So let's see. Here's what we'll do. First of all, I'm going to come back over here, start up the screen, and you'll see the madness. But let's actually go look at what it looks like in the Twitter broadcast here. Load this up. Let me put that on mute. Now you can see kind of full screen. That actually doesn't look so bad. I mean, the resolution is total crap, but it's kind of fine. Let's switch over to my big head and see what it looks like there. Also, we can load up. So I'm putting this on my own YouTube channel. So let's see what that ends up looking like. This is one of those things I'm going to futz around with it and just decide that I don't have time for this. Okay, here we go. Let me mute this. See? It drives me crazy how fuzzy that is instead of being sharper. But that's the low resolution. So that's pretty good. Let's see what we got here. I have not read that book. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. That's fine. Let's leave it how it is for now. And like I said, not worry about it. So I'm going to come back over here. And I mean, I had that on the defaults, right? For some reason, the way that Restream does it makes my face all red. But again, that must be what I actually look like. Well, okay. So today, what I want to go over is I've got a couple things. Let me bring up the agenda, and I'll show y'all. So remember when I used to do this at the beginning of Tanzu Talks? It was pretty good. So we've already done fiddling around with the new camera. So that's fine. Now, the second thing is we have one of our executive roundtables coming up later this week. Let me do some more fiddling. So we were thinking about putting together a video as sort of a waiting room, which I did. But then we've got like 80 people signed up for, which probably means like 50 or so will show up, which is great. And we were going to do a video originally, but now we're going to do something else. But I did put together this video. We have Sophie, who you probably remember from a past episode I'm about to draw something from. I made a little video to kind of be in the waiting room. And I think I found some pretty good parts that I think are worth us looking at and observing, which means I'm going to need to use the old loopback thing. So let me get that hooked up. It's actually hard to broadcast a video. Let's see. I want to go over that, and you'll have to put up with me. No, I don't want to do that right now. New sound effects. Remind me later. So I wanted to watch the little parts of that video for our Tanzu Talk thing. And then the next thing that I want to do is also for the same event, I want to get some questions in case I need to present longer from my standard culture talk to have as part of the presentation to go over. So instead of giving a long presentation, we'll do the thing where I'll go over my standard talk, which I think I've done here. I forget if I've done that here, and then we'll have some canned questions to ask on the topic, which will evoke the content in it. So I think that's what I'll go over. I could also go over another deck that I have to present, which I haven't really practiced, and it's supposed to be basically like 20 minutes for something on Thursday. I don't know. We'll see. I think I would rather. Which would I rather do? Let's do this. We'll skip over looking at that video. I'll have that prepared or not to do some other time. There's some really good content in there that I think is worth going over. So we'll skip doing that. And instead, what I'll do with my big old red head. See, it's just so I can't resist it. I'm going to go over here and see if maybe what I need is some sharpening. So let's see. First of all, as you can see, the green screen doesn't have anything. So I'm going to switch over those. And where is the sharpness? Maybe just a tiny bit. So you don't want to sharpen too much. I mean, I think that looks pretty cool, but I just want like a little bit more sharpness there. Maybe also I should see, look. See, that's why it's so faded there. I mean, how much of my face do you really want to see? Not that much, right? Let's see if if I can. Yeah, that's about as good as it'll focus, right? So let's go back to that, and we don't want to zoom that much. Let's see what the telephoto does. Oh, see, that's pretty good. Maybe instead what I need to be doing is telephotoing. No. All right, I'm going to stop playing around with it. It's not useful. Ugh. Okay. You can tell it's driving me nuts. So instead, what I think I'll do, so first of all, we'll do this. We'll get these questions out of the culture talk that I do. And then let's practice the 20-minute pitch thing. So I have this webinar that I'm doing for a partner of ours, where they basically want a 20-minute section on what's the deal with VMware Tanzu. And in here, unlike most of the time when I get asked to talk somewhere, they do the whole thing where they're like, please, no vendor pitches, which I don't know. It's like, I understand what people are asking for, but when I hear the phrase no vendor pitches, what I hear them saying is like, we don't actually know if we want your product or not yet. So don't be boring. That's kind of what I substitute in my head when I hear no vendor pitches is don't be boring. Which is fine. And then, also, maybe I could do this as well, because I do also need to make a 20-minute version of DevOps metric talk. This I'd have to get loopback working, which maybe I'll let's go ahead and do that, because I think it is worthwhile getting this working. So if I did, let's see. So let me enable this. So we have Safari there, OBS to Zoom. Nope. So the output channel is there. Now I forget. Do you remember I had this set up last time? So we have a streaming mic. What I need to, what did I do here? Oh yeah, I did this with Audio Hijack. Remember? So I've got that monitor going on here, and what I did is, I think it was this one. It's pretty precarious to do all of this. So we had system audio, we had that, and that goes to, yes. So we use it, let me turn this off. So then we had this on. So we call that streaming mic. So I'm gonna go over back to Restream. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing this crazy situation just to get to pipe in audio from wherever I want. So I use Audio Hijack to capture basically all the audio, and then that gets sent to one output that this program called Loopback is creating. It's like a fake microphone. And then that microphone, as you can see, we go into Restream and we say, use that mic. So when I switch over here, I had to, and where I denoise that. Yeah, let me turn this on. So then I can hear myself, but it's no, that doesn't work. So I should be coming through. Yeah. In fact, it's a little too much, but it looks like you should be able to hear my audio, but I can't. I've got to insert a monitor in here. So let me disassociate this. And then if I turn this monitor, there we go. So the problem was, let me go verify actually. If there's anyone in the chat, tell me if you can hear my voice, the couple of people, but I'll go verify it myself and come, no, not that one. Yeah. So now I can hear myself. Okay. Whoa. So, the issue was, there's, having a monitor, which is to say, listening to being able to hear yourself when you're talking, it's cool to have an audio hijack. But once you do some processing, like I'm doing here to do some denoising and stuff like that, there's enough of a delay that you are not hearing yourself in real time, which is annoying. Now, I probably need to get like the Rode Podcaster desk, whatever, but it's kind of nice just to have it all software enabled. Anyhow, what this means is that now I can add any application here, and you'll be able to hear the audio. So, for example, let's check and see what's happening here. Oh, see, that's nice. He's enjoying it, aren't we all? So I can open up, for example, let's see. So here's that thing I did with Sophie that I wanted to, or with her that I wanted to go over. So this is the script. So now I'm going to come over to Audio Hijack. I've lost track of it, and I'm going to add in an application. Pawsies. Oh, you remember me setting this up last time? It was driving me nuts. So we're going to select an application and running applications. You'll get the script. Now, what this means is that once I play, come on, why are you not there? It's so annoying. Let's move this over here, but then it needs to connect to that, and then this needs to. There's got to be a way for me to just explicitly tell it which things to connect to, but it really doesn't want to do that. So we'll just leave that there. So now we have the script here. So I'm going to test this out, be annoying again, since I don't have enough viewers to rely on to tell me things, no offense, but I'm going to play this. And then.
But just setting OKRs, writing them down, does not replace good communication together with the teams. You need to deliver a message. So you don't just do OKRs, you don't just set because you were sitting down with your peers and we as the company.
So I'm listening to it in real time and just paused it. Let's see if I can hear it in the Periscope video. Does that? Yeah. So there you go. It works. How thrilling. Okay. So, I don't know. Since I have this up, why don't we look at it? So let me test that out. Let's get rid of this. This text was burdensome. Let's see. Oh, no, I just want to get rid of this text. There we go. So let's check this out. I'm going to do one more test just because, I'm always paranoid. I always think why not test things again if you have doubts? So I'm going to play here and listen to myself. And then we're going to see if I hear the sound coming through.
But just setting OKRs, writing them down, does not replace good communication together with the teams. You need to deliver.
There you go. It works. All right. Maybe I should stop doubting myself. Be more inspirational to myself. So let me move this over here. And what we'll do now is I think I should add in the Tanzu Talk stuff so that we can make this part of the official fun of what's going on in the land. Let's see. So, Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to switch the livery, as it were, over, and also add in streaming to Tanzu. So this is the Tanzu Talk portion of the show. So if you're watching this, you don't have to do anything. Just stay here. We're just broadcast stuff out to Tanzu land. Oh, I'm covering my head again. My big old red head, as you can see. And then I'll go back to, speaking of big head, the big head guy there. Little red. I don't know. And then it's cool in Restream. You can just add in new stuff. So I'm just going to stream it I don't know. We'll see. I'll stream it to the YouTube thing and Twitch. All right. So we'll just kind of wait for those to confirm that they're on there. Sending data. Sending data. Looks good. Looks good. So I think we here's what I'm gonna do in the meantime. All right. Well, hey, it's Tuesday. It's today's Tanzu Talk. You know, as always, not as always, but it's a sub show of me just futzing around. If you wanted to see something more, but there's a couple of things I wanted to do today. The first one is I actually put together a video that we're not going to use anymore, which is fine. Just a little excerpt from a talk that I think Rick Clark and I had back in November with Sophie, who works at Daimler, or Mercedes, if you will. And I think there's I extracted two things from that interview that I think are worth kind of watching and commenting on, because both of them have to do essentially with this mindset that I see people who are managing a transformation doing really well, something key that they do, which is they think about their job when they're changing how their organization functions to get better at software. They think about their job as the engineer of their organization, essentially creating the architecture of their organization, if you will, and reprogramming it, you know, and going through that same cycle of here's a theory of how the organization should be set up. Here's a theory of how we're going to deploy that change. Let's measure if it worked or not, right? A very engineering mindset to doing things. Now, that's opposed to just sort of saying like, we are all going to switch over to doing things this way, so switch over to doing it. A very project or waterfall driven way of doing change management. Whereas you want to have that more agile product way where you're constantly studying what the marketplace is, hear your organization, what people are doing with it here, hear your staff or customers, and really gathering information on how it's functioning. So let's take a look at the video here and kind of comment on, because Sophie summarizes this in the two excerpts that I had. And what I have here is you all can also see a little bit of the video editor that I use, Descript, which is, you know, it doesn't have all of the video features that a person might want, but it has enough of them. And it also makes a transcript. What's really nice is you can edit the transcript, but let's listen in. So here is, this is a good point that she makes about, again, thinking about how you engineer and architect things, the importance of actually communicating that strategy.
But just setting OKRs, writing them down, does not replace good communication together with the teams. You need to deliver a message. So you don't just do OKRs, you don't just set because you were sitting down with your peers and we as the company leadership team, we think we should do this. It's about a lot about the why. It's about a personal engagement, and especially let's say for a strategic topics, and you need to really rethink your communication part. It's not done with a video conference. We really need to think, okay, how do we get this to the teams? And how do we make sure that, say, the most junior person that has stepped into this company is able to follow through on everything that is happening? And that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges that we are all going to face.
So, and by biggest challenges we're all going to face, what she meant there was, this is back in November. So, you know, this was, it's August now, November of 2020. So there was still a lot of like COVID think and stuff going on. So, you know, what I like about this is she's pointing out that you can't just command and control or waterfall your change management. You have to really think about making sure that people know what your strategy is, that you know what it is, and that you're not just managing by KPIs or OKRs or MBOs by just goals. You're actually being more hands-on as a manager and making sure people understand it and making sure that you are there working with them, really just doing the work. Because if you have these autonomous teams, these software teams who are working very close to the actual business, the actual customer, they need to make decisions every week, if not shorter, or every 2 weeks, depending on your release cycle, about what would be best, not only for their software, but best for the business. And so you need to make sure your job as a manager, as an executive, is to make sure that they know the strategy, the principles, the framework they work in, because they're not going to have time operating that way to kind of be told what it is and just be expected to follow it. Like they have to be making decisions on their own. It's kind of a muddled way of explaining it, but I think it's an excellent point that she makes. Very prescriptive about what you need to be doing there. Now, the second part to go over that I extracted from this video, this longer interview that Rick and I had with her, is about essentially, again, it's the same side of this. It's a different side of the same thing of like not trusting in the waterfall hierarchy. And I keep saying waterfall. I'm kind of mixing the metaphors here, but not trusting that the hierarchy will take care of something, but instead setting up your system when you re-architect it to trust the teams and the individuals instead of having execution, so to speak, flow through the hierarchy. Like that's no longer the way that you're architecting your organization. So now let's check that out.
If you're leading people, if you're in a leadership position, I say you should roughly spend around 60 to 70% of your time making sure your people are engaged and be there for them and talk to them. And it's just about checking in. You can also check in about other things, but to not ignore the fact. And that's your job as a leader of a company or of a team. It's your responsibility as people, actually. And you should hire people that are able to do the job for you, that you don't have to worry that they don't get the job done. One of the things I've mentioned many times in my talks is like...
Now, on this point, that might raise some ire, because it's like, yes, if I could hire the best people, or if I could hire the people I need, then I would have the people I need. It's almost tautological. But to kind of add a little bit into that, I think more of what's going on there is that when you think about your hiring profile, you don't want to hire, and you would do this in a project waterfall hierarchy driven thing. You're hiring capabilities. You're hiring skills, people who can execute and know something. You're not necessarily often hiring miniature business people, miniature strategically minded people. So that's a profile you need to put into the capability. To be fair, you want from your staff is for them to be a little more self-determined and autonomous. So if you don't have that in your current staff, chances are high that you can. You just need to figure out how to let's stick with the metaphor, how to reprogram them, how to add on that kind of capability of being more self-directed and taking on more responsibility. Again, not just for the technology, but for how the business is functioning. And the reason, well, let's watch the rest and see if she goes.
Why is there a lot of hierarchies? Because there is always the fear that the people on the bottom don't get the job done in a proper way. And I think
there you go. So that's the key thing right there, is that we want to set up a system where it is not based on the assumption that people can't do the work unless we tell them what to do, unless we have a hierarchy in place that tells them what to do. But again, if we're setting up this system to operate like tech companies do, where the software is your primary way of interacting with people, is your product, right? A product mentality of doing it. We instead, one, need to shift our thinking. We as executives and management, we need to have this mindset where it's not about trust, but we are creating a system where the staff can make the right decisions. They can be self-directed. And sure, you need to trust them, but you also need to set up your program, your architecture of your organization to do that. And I think if you started with a traditional hierarchy, which is designed, architected around the idea that you can't trust people to do things on their own, then you're going to need to re-architect that some and set things up differently.
That needs to change. You need to hire people that do the job, and they are the experts in doing that, and give them the liberty. Also sometimes make a mistake, because that's where you learn. And then you as a leader can focus on, this is what leadership is about, to take care about the people and make sure you have the right people on the right job. But usually we are focusing a lot about controlling the outcome of a delivery, of an objective that needs to be done, because it's easier than to talk about feelings and emotions and not being present, stuff like this.
So there you go. It's meant just to be like a 1-minute video, so there's not an extreme amount of detail. But the point is, I think it's good fodder for that idea I'm always kind of yammering on about, as I've already done here, is that if you're an executive or a manager going through like transformation, one of the major mind shifts that you go through is that you're not checking on a hierarchy and doing status checks and kind of in a waterfall way, I guess waterfall works here because there's water going down the organization, trickling down, to use that old term. but you're not figuring out what needs to happen and telling that to people in a kind of like very minute task-based way or capability-based way. But instead, you're re-architecting your organization so that the teams, the product teams that you have, one, are staffed with developers and product managers. They're staffed with the capabilities that you need. But they are more in charge of figuring out how the software, what features are in the software, what problems you're even solving, how those problems are being solved in the software to achieve whatever strategic goals that you have. And you can think of the examples that I like to use, like the example of the kitchen people who were told in a very hierarchy-based way, they were told, go work on a project to digitize in restaurants, move menu recipes from paper versions to an iPad version. And management said that will fix things and achieve our goals. But instead, thankfully, the organization had been re-architected to be this more autonomous, bottoms-driven way of doing things, where the team went in and observed what people were doing in kitchens, and they realized that sure, that was something interesting to do, but something that people in the kitchen spent more time on is, as I like to joke, measuring the mayonnaise. They spent a lot of time measuring the temperature of chicken and mayonnaise and things like that. And it would be better if they helped digitize that process and speed up that process and make it more reliable. And that would free up time for the kitchen staff to worry about other things. It was a big bottleneck that they had. You know, I've got a much more detailed example of that somewhere if you go search for Tanzu Talk measuring mayonnaise. But it's examples like that where you can see that the management had re-architected the way they think about their organization and how the organization was composed, so that the teams could be more innovative and product-based. So I think she covered that pretty well. Well, so the second thing I wanted to go over is so I was on the second tier. There's a funny pun to be had there for the Cloud Foundry Foundation. I think maybe someone backed out or couldn't accept. So I was on the wait list, so to speak, of talks. And sure enough, they asked me to come do one of my talks. But the catch was they need a 20-minute version. And it's recorded, thankfully, but they need a 20-minute version of the metrics talk that I have. So why don't you join me here in Ambient Tanzu? And we'll take a look at editing that down. You know, again, my theory of Tanzu Talk, or I should just rename it Ambient Tanzu. I think Tanzu Talk is like the more polished one, and Ambient Talk is ambient, whatever it is, which is when I'm screwing around. But what I want to do is let's spend some time editing this talk, and we will make a new version of it that is 20 minutes. So first of all, again, I'm using Descript, and you'll see like the power of Descript. For this style of, for editing like this, you'll see why it's very useful. So first of all, let's make a duplicate, and we will call this 20-minute version. Let me actually look on my phone here and make sure that it should be 20 minutes. This is a core thing to do in this kind of work is you may think it needs to be 20 minutes. That might be what you remember, but really go verify it instead. Always verify what your memories are when it comes to project stuff. So let's see. I remember going to conferences. That was fun. Hopefully we'll be able to do that sometime soon. Cloud Foundry Summit. Yep. So the slot is only for 20 minutes max. Yep. So let's open up. Didn't I just duplicate that? Where did it go? Well, that's annoying. Let's close this and reopen the view. There we go. Just needed to be refreshed. I'm going to file a bug or with a PR, or I'm not going to do anything. Okay. So here we are. So it's kind of chopping the top of my head off there. So what you got here is my metrics talk, which I still need to post. And see, this is the nice thing about Descript. You can see I've put in headers. Here's me giving my bio. So that's a good place to start cutting. Basically anything that's an overview. So the first thing, so here's what we're going to be looking at. Where is, let me bring up the little panel here. So here, this is the important thing. You can see that up here, 27.44. 27 minutes and 44 seconds is what we're looking at here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, I think there are some parts in the end that I can just avoid. Zombie metrics, culture metrics, tech debt. So I might take out the tech debt part. Business metrics. I mean, I think the tech debt part is pretty important. Tracing. I'm going to type. I mean, they're all important. Otherwise, why would I say it? So maybe I'll take out the zombie part. So let's see. First of all, thanks for having me here. That's just a brief overview. What kind of metrics we're gathering, what they have, that kind of. Hopefully, it'll give you a chance. Let's see. So let's start here. I can chop some of this, I think. Thanks for having me here. That's just a brief overview of, as I've been talking with large organizations, the kind of metrics that they're gathering and the mindset that they have, that kind of iterative learning mindset, and really connecting together. Why are we gathering that metric? Why is it useful for what we're doing? And hopefully it'll give you a chance to have a kind of a starter set on your own of things to do. I'm always easy. There you go. So that's just a brief overview. Large organizations, the kind of metrics that they're gathering. Let's see. We'll do this. So see how it edits on the transcript? That's really nice. I've been talking with large organizations, the kind of metrics that they're gathering, and hopefully it'll give you a chance to have a kind of a starter set on your own of things to do. I'm always easy to get a hold of if you're interested in talking more. And with that, enjoy the rest of the talks. They all look pretty good. Bye-bye. Thanks for having me here today. Okay. So you see we chopped off a second, which is a lot shorter than 7 minutes and 27 seconds, but whatever. So the metrics, always easy to get home if you're interested in talking more. So we'll take this, take that out. They all look pretty cool. Just say bye-bye. Boom. We got some more. And then we'll go through. Might as well fix this while we're in here. I think you're supposed to have a comma in there. Thanks for having me here. This is just a brief overview. The kind of metrics they're gathering. Hopefully it'll give you a chance to have a kind of starter set on your own. So what is that? I mean, that's 3 seconds. So we need to do some bigger surgery. So thanks for having me here today. I want to go talking things like the other people think. Not only what you think about in DevOps, let's see. Thanks for having me here today. I want to go over some thinking that I've been doing, more like collecting together of other people's thinking about how metrics are used, not only when you're thinking about things like DevOps or even site reliability engineering, but when you're thinking about how you're changing your organization over to get better at creating and deploying and running software, building, running, and managing, as we over here in VMware Tanzu would think about it. And to do that, I'm going to go over these 3 types of metrics and just here. Changing your organization over to get better at creating and deploying and running software, building, running. So we'll chop this out. There we go. See, got a few seconds here, a few seconds there. And to do that, I'm going to go over these 3 types of metrics and just go over what I see mature, high-performing organizations doing, what types of metrics they're collecting, and equally importantly, what they're. So. I'm gonna go over, let's see, the metrics. So I think I can chop that out. And then so let's take a look at the meat of what we're gonna be doing here. Yeah, so for 20 minutes, you gotta, I think of this stuff as like stage direction. So we'll chop this out because I basically repeat that over here. So not only when you're thinking about things like DevOps or even site reliability engineering, but when you're thinking about how you're changing your organization over to get better at creating and deploying and running software. First of all, So let me make sure. Thanks for having me here today. I want to go over some thinking that I've been doing, more like collecting together of other people's thinking about how metrics are used, not only when you're thinking about things like DevOps or even site reliability engineering, but when you're thinking about how you're changing your organization over to get, okay, that's pretty good. So now the bio, you might be tempted. This would solve a huge part of your problem. Well, or a minute problem still. That would be an easy thing to chop out and get like a minute out. But it is only a minute, and like part of giving a talk is to hustle yourself, right? So whenever you're giving a talk at a conference, you got to like hustle yourself. So let's see. First of all, this is me. Everyone calls me by my last name. You can. So we don't need to tell them that. So we can chop that out. Let's see. First of all, this is me. So I'm pretty lucky in that. People before that focusing on a lot of. I talk with them and research them. Why do I talk about that? I should have updated my slide. This trilogy of books really goes over. You want to transform how you're always saying we're transforming in our digital transformation is what I spend a lot of my time focusing on. And no trilogy here. Okay. So this trilogy book really goes over. So let's do this. If you want to transform, trilogy of books really goes over. If you want to transform how you're doing software, transform how you're doing. Oh, that actually. Oh, I see what it did. So let's correct this. Transform how. There you go. Transform how you're doing software, your own software that you write in-house that you use to run your business, you use as your storefront or facing your citizens, your external facing software. How you rethink about that. Yeah, how you're doing software. I'll just delete that. How you rethink about that software, the technology stacks you put in place to make it run effectively, the processes that you do, the culture that you put in place, all that stuff we're always... All that stuff. Do it like this. Boop, boop, boop. You can get all that stuff. All that stuff. You can get a copy of those books for free if you're interested. The little trilogy there. If you go to Coté. And then see, we can chop this up. So see, it's kind of fun to edit this way. The video effect is all choppy and weird, but who cares? For free if you go to cote.io/books if you're into that. Just about tech news and stuff happening in the interest. I'm easy enough to track down if you enjoy my inane prattle. Right. Yep. Boy, that's the truth, huh? That. I also do a couple of podcasts. I'm easy enough to track down if you enjoy my inane prattle about everything. You can just say inane prattle. That's self-destructive, self-descriptive. Okay, so let's take a look. See, what are we at? See? 26 minutes, only 6 minutes. Let's round up to 7, but kind of an overview. So let's take a look at the meat of what we're going to be doing. Metrics. Developer are always interested in metrics. Okay, so this is a part like we love to me. It's good to understand the candidates. So I'm going to go over these 3 buckets. This is the way I bucket out metrics, right? So here I'm going to be... So I'm going to go over these 3 buckets. This is the way I bucket out metrics, right? Again, as I'll get into here shortly, thinking about what are we doing with IT? Why are we collecting these metrics? What's the service or the outcome or the point of this infrastructure, this IT, this software that we're providing? And therefore, how would we monitor and measure it? So there's some great technical metrics, and these, they change over time according to the technology used, the kind of acceptance. So this is the kind of thing that you can really chop out. Because I'm basically telling you what I'm about to talk about, which is nice for a longer form, but for a 20-minute thing. And this applies for like internal presentations as well, right? So think about when you're giving a presentation, you're going to have an agenda slide like this. This is part of why nowadays I don't do agenda slides anymore, because I noticed that I would always like spend a lot of time giving too much of a preview of what I was talking about. Whereas like instead of telling what the agenda is, I should just tell you, right? The section. So what I want to do here is, so I kind of go over this, and first I want to make sure, I'm going to skip over to Yeah. They're putting them in containers nowadays. So yeah, so see here, I just launch into, I'm re-summarizing. I'm re-saying what I was doing. So then let's go down to, then I talk about tracing. Let's see the business metrics. So now let's look at business. So let me double check this. And I think I'm going to chop most of this out. So in the systems categories, so I think it's fun to make. So let's take a look at the meat of what we're going to be doing here. Kind of an overview. Metrics, measurements, gauges, dashboards, numbers. I've been working in the tech industry here for a long time, since the late 90s. And specifically, I've worked also in the systems management or the monitoring or the infrastructure management. I've been a developer, and we always are interested in metrics. There's a predictable cycle of we come up with great metrics, and we almost ritually have to talk about how inane the previous regime of metrics that we used were. We love demeaning the previous state of the art in favor of the new. And how inane previous metrics. Let's see, just shape that a little bit there. Regime of metrics were. We love demeaning the previous state of the art in favor of the new. And I think with metrics, that's especially pernicious. We might make fun of past metrics, like why use gauges when you could synthesize what a metric means? So really, how about, let's take a look at the meat of what we're doing. I think I'll just chop that. Kind of an overview. Metrics. There we go. So we can chop all of that. Kind of an overview. In fact, you can chop that. I mean, editing is largely about chopping, not just rearranging the order of things. So let's take a look at the meat of what we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to go over these three buckets. This is the way I bucket out metrics, right? Again, as I'll get into here shortly, thinking about what are we doing with IT? Why are we collecting these metrics? What's the service or the outcome or the point of this infrastructure, this IT, this software that we're providing? And therefore, how would we monitor and measure it? So there's some great technical metrics, and these, they change. I'll look at some of the more popular ones. These are the only metrics you should monitor executives. The other section is going to be over what some of the business metrics are. So do I really need to say that? It's just like these are the buckets. Nowadays, business outcomes, blah, blah, blah. It's really good. Again, I think culture is how we do things around here. And go talk. If you're not really gathering metrics, it's going to be difficult to know. Okay, so boom. I think what we can do, we're providing, and therefore, how would we monitor and measure it? So there's some great technical metrics, and these. What I'm going to do, let's chop this. So again, hopefully, the instructive thing here is when you're doing your presentation, it's okay to flash an agenda thing like this up, just to kind of. And again, this is a 20-minute talk, so normally I would leave that in here, but you can easily just chop out stuff like that, right? Like you're going to get to it anyways. You don't need to go over what you're going to talk about ahead of actually talking about it. Just talk about it. So let's see. Really what you want to do is make sure the transitions work. So let's take a look at the meat of what we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to go over these three buckets. This is the way I bucket out metrics, right? Again, as I'll get into here shortly, thinking about what are we doing with IT? Why are we collecting these metrics? What's the service or the outcome or the point of this infrastructure, this IT, this software that we're providing? And therefore, how would we monitor and measure it? So first, I want to take a look. Now, let's see how long this is. 18 seconds. We'll leave it in there. I was thinking you could even take it out. But whatever. So first I'm going to take let's see. So first, I want to take a look at, to the point of that business. So this is the first story that I told about software getting better, and I still think it's one of the better ones. A metric, knowing why you're doing something. I want to give you a very simple example of what I think the point of a lot of transformation is. Yeah, so see, you kind of do need this, because I mentioned so here you go. You got this connection of why are you doing this? And then I refer back to it here. So it's good to do that. So very simple example of what I think the point of a lot of transformation is, of digital transformation, if you will, and changing how you're doing things, getting better at software. And this is an older example, but a very crisp, straightforward example, especially for people in America. Everyone there, my fellow Americans, will be familiar with the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, the tax people. And this is an example that we at VMware Tanzu, we worked with the IRS some years ago, and they wanted to do a bit of digital transformation, get better at running a part of their business. So one thing is, you see, I'm like hustling stuff here, which if I was doing this for a conference, I don't know if I'd be that direct. On the other hand, why not? Transformation, get better at running a part of their business, or to put it in those. Let's see what is doing. Because I recorded this for a VMUG, a VMware sort of regional conference, where it's okay, people want you to be more direct about how it relates to things, VMware related stuff, which is cool. And change business. This is going to example that. So many people motivated. See, I probably could read this. We only need 4 minutes. I'm just not sure much. All right. You know what I think I need to do? Oh, the tracing part is valuable, though. I think I need to find... I could take this out, even though I think it's really... The problem is I don't really offer a metric for this. So while this tech debt part is good, let's see what happens if we chop it. I mean, I guess, you don't want to chop too much. Let's see how this goes. Probably worth putting that into your applications as well and making sure that people are satisfied. So finally, I went... So tracing. What visual? Yes. Now let's take a look into part of the thing about that. Excuse me. Yeah, I kind of repeat stuff here. We'll see if I need to go in here and do some closer surgery. So we took that out. Now we're in the culture metrics. Let's see how long this is. See, this could be it right here. Oh, 1 minute. What happens if we delete that? So close. Yeah, let's go ahead and delete the zombie part. And then our work is almost done. So you can see we've got 1 minute and 60 seconds left. So what I should do, business metrics, first version. So let's look at, all right, let's really dig into this, because this is, I mean, if I take this out, what are we looking at here? Oof, that is a huge chunk. So see, if I take that out, I could leave the zombie one in. And so is this, so tracing. I mean, tracing is like a metric. See, these are the decisions. I keep thinking I should take this out because it's a bigger chunk. So, okay, let's do that. So I'm going to put the zombie one back in, because I think what we got with the zombie thing is a sort of not specific, but hygienic thing to think about, right? To make sure that you're not tracking a bunch of crap metrics. And the tracing thing, while very valuable, I think we can chop that out. I'm just going to chop it and be done with it. Sometimes you just got to do that. There we go. Bam. And there we are, just under 20 minutes. So let's see. DevOpsy technical metrics to start with that I see organizations using frequently. So now let's look at business metrics. All right, there we go. Now we got the talk. I'm going to set it up to export later on, and we'll be ship shape. with that little guy. Now, this is actually a call I have coming up briefly. Here, let's convert these to checkboxes, because that will be more fun. I gotta look around my camera. How do I make them list? No, they're already a list. Oh, disappointing, Bear. Whatever. So fiddling around with new camera, extract some. I didn't do that part, but I can do that later. And then let me open up. Let me switch back to my big head. I'm sure you've been missing it. Let me open up this next talk that I want to give. This is, I have literally what they call a tech check. It looks like they're using On24, which is an ancient webinar thing, but I think it's much updated from when I first started using it. And boy, in the late 2000s, it was, I mean, I'm sure it was great for the time, but compared to what we do nowadays, it was a sight to behold. But I want to quickly look at the slides that I have for this. And again, this is it's a webinar for partners that we have to kind of talk about just what Tanzu's deal is with them. So let's take a look at what we are. Now, you remember, as always, when you open up a presentation, this is supposed to be 20 minutes as well, I believe. When you open up a presentation, it's always good to use the lightbox mode. So you can see some repeats of slides here. So basically what I'm doing here is going over the outcome, the point of people working with Tanzu. And then I'm kind of going to run through what we actually offer there product-wise. What's up with that? Why is that displaying weird? Oh, man. Let's see if this actually displays properly. Oh, no. There's builds. I hate that when I use a slide from somewhere. Let's get that out of here. I do not want a build. I don't do that. Obviously, I don't like it. So I am going to select all of this. And how do I get rid of these builds? None. Animations. Stop. I want nothing. No animation. No. Here, let's go in and see animation pane. No. What even is, let's see what this is even building. Oh, I see. It goes from the previous thing. How do we solve those problems? I mean, listen, this is just my personal preference, but like we go from this slide, right? And then someone else really liked this animation of that. That's all. That's all it does. Whereas just switching, I don't think you really need a transition. I guess it's kind of cool looking, but now let's go back. All right. So then, right, the shift that I've done here, this is a lot more vendor pitchy than I usually am. I tell, my usual ice cream truck story, as my friend Hanada calls it, the point of getting to this here. And then it's basically product-wise, what this means is people will be running on containers. You've got this type of stack for things, which is all cool. And then the way that we're servicing it is we have these kind of bundlings of Kubernetes, so I can just talk about that. And then we also have these two services, and there we go. There's me. So long. So that's good. I think that'll work out well. Well, that is your ambient Tanzu for whatever day this is, Tuesday here. I don't have a cool video to close out with. I'll have to upload one for next time. I've actually been working on a new Be Right Back video. Has some new, I guess I keep saying new. Has some new stuff there. But maybe I'll have that ready for next time. Well, as always, if you're interested in the archives for this show, they're not all this kind of ambient version where I just futz around. There's lots of interviews and much more highly edited, focused things. If you saw the way I was editing that, there's a lot of things that are just better edited. But as you can see, you can go to tanzutalk.com. And indeed, there's a videos link. You can click on there. You can see the archives for all the videos. We also host podcasts there. You can check those out. And if you go to tanzutalk.com/videos, you can get, you probably saw those 3 books that I have for free there and other things that I might reference, but you should really go check them out. Just download those free books, the PDFs from them. And I think as a trilogy, I mean, I wrote them, so of course I'm biased, but I think they're pretty great. And so with that, we'll see everyone next time. You know, as always, if you want to see when these streams come out, you can subscribe to us on Twitch. It's just twitch.tv/VMware Tanzu. You can subscribe in YouTube as well at the VMware Tanzu thing in YouTube. You get notified of it. And I broadcast every Tuesday or Thursday in the mornings or thereabout. I forget what the Swiss call it, but I broadcast on the second breakfast, the mid-morning snack. 11sies, I think they call it in Lord of the Rings. So we'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.